Well, folks, here we are again, another episode of the Soul Sessions, as featured here on Wrestling Republic. Now, with me today is as good as gold. He is the brilliant James Ellis. James, welcome to the show, pal.
Thank you very much for having me. What an introduction.
No, well, I always try. You know, a man of your stature, amazing talent. I've got to introduce you as the talented individual you are. I mean, absolutely, of course. So, James, for our viewers who are not familiar with yourself, how did you get involved in the wrestling business in the first place?
Well, it's quite a weird story, actually. I'll try not to babble too much because I tend to do that. But I was one of those classic, I was into wrestling when I was around, the age of 5 to around 12. And then it became not for me anymore. As I got older, I was like, I'm not into wrestling anymore. And I went to uni down in Swansea, and for some reason, one day I randomly did well on an assignment, and then I was like, I'm gonna get the WWE Network actually, because I'd seen it floating around, and from that point onwards, I was pretty hooked back into it again. And actually, I emailed in my second year. I emailed Flash Morgan Webster off his booking email, asking him where in Wales was best to train, and I was suggested to Dragon Pro, and at the time, with money and stuff, let's put it this way, I just couldn't do it at that time. So I ended up starting in a place closer to where I lived, which wasn't the best. Let's put it that way. It wasn't the best start you could have had. They taught the basics, and they put me in the ring probably a lot sooner than I should have been. But that's what kicked it all off. And this was around 2019. I started training. And I was in the ring I think I started in the February. I was in the ring in a match by the July. Jesus. So we've just been trying to sort of capitalize on the opportunities I've been given since then. And over the last year, it's been paying off. But it's had to take a lot of hard work. And I earned the name Good as Gold, and I earned the name The Brilliance because I do work hard for it. I do work hard. And I just I've understood when it was time to start a new chapter. And at the moment, I'm really, really, really enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from seeing your stuff on Instagram as well, you're definitely a hardworking individual. You mentioned how you picked up the network, obviously, in your year of uni. Was there a particular first match you watched that was just immediately hooked you right in? Or was there just multiple stuff you watched and was like, yeah, this is really bringing the love for the profession back?
The first match I ever watched, sorry to track back. The first match I ever watched, it'll always stick with me, was I was at a random party with my parents, and it was late night. It was all their friends, and wrestling was on TV. It's that classic story. Wrestling was on TV. I walked past, I looked at it. I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And it wasn't Kurt Angle. It was Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio versus Rene Dupree and Kenzo Suzuki on a random episode of SmackDown in 2004. So that was the first thing that took my eye to it. I can remember that quite clearly. I briefly enjoyed CM Punk Summer of Punk in about 2011. Classic, yeah. I'd gone off for a year, then I came back into it. I started watching that sort of stuff when I was in uni again, like the highlights and everything. Yeah. So I'd say that kind of brought me back into it. And watching do you remember the What Culture? They used to do the top 10s.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Yeah. That I started watching them. Probably I should have mentioned that as well. I started watching them in uni. They started algorithm just started popping up all the time. So I was keenly aware of wrestling, but it was always these lists seemed to be around the era that I enjoyed the most, which is like your 2001 to your 2006 SmackDown Raw sort of era. So I enjoyed. That's my favorite part, and that got me back into it. And I just enjoyed going back and watching them sort of that period again. That's what the network gave me. I'd always watch the pay-per-views when they were on, but the current product at that time didn't really do much for me. It was just, I enjoyed watching it now and again. I enjoyed watching the highlights, but it sounds bad, but I don't think I've watched a full episode of SmackDown or Raw in about 10 years.
When Raw's 3 hours and it's like us in the UK up pretty early, we can't do those hours.
It's a slog. I think, 2 hours. I probably watched quite regularly SmackDown when the the second brand split happened, with John Moxley and AJ Styles. I thought that was such a throwback to like 2002 SmackDown, the way they presented it. I did really enjoy watching that. But again, it was just committing that amount of time for me in that part of my life was just didn't have the time to do it. So I'd always watch the highlights.
Of course, man. Like I would do as well. Just going on YouTube, you see someone's uploaded like 30-minute highlights of like a 3-hour show. You just, hey, it's easy, boom, bite dusted. I can just go through that and get the whole storyline. Not even to waste my 3 hours.
Yeah, that sounds. We're not really selling wrestling here, but that that's the kind of way I approached it during that era, anyways, of my time. And then when I started watching, like I watch certain like types of wrestling now, just purely on that it's like what the current scene is wanting or what the current scene is like. So I'll just watch certain types of wrestling for that reason. But I wouldn't be watching. I don't like I said, even now, I don't really watch. I used to watch NXT quite religiously. I remember, I think it was on Xbox 360. This is how long ago it was. I had Sky Go on my Xbox for some reason, and this was back in, I've got to say, 2014, 2015. I'm not a gamer. I just had the console. Use it more for watching stuff than actually playing games. But NXT Redemption, which was the 5th series, when like old before pre-Triple H, but it was still showing them. And I watched like NXT Redemption. It was like after the series had ended, and it was just so random. William Regal was the GM. Matt Striker was part of it. Like there was like storylines where Matt Striker was getting kidnapped by Kurt Hawkins, and it like Michael McGillicuddy or Curtis Axel was on it. He was a mainstay. It was just giving people time on air, and I just thought I quite enjoyed it. The wrestling was secondary. It was so storyline based. That's my kind of wrestling. I like storylines. I enjoy the process of creating something through a story, and wrestling being a part of that as well.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. There's a particular storyline you look up and just think that's like a piece of art. Like I could watch that from start to finish and just be thoroughly entertained by the storyline itself.
The Summer of Punk was one. Like when you go back and watch it all from the period, just the end of his new Nexus, or when he's still wearing the Nexus band in the match with Cena, I'm pretty sure. But like it's a non-factor anymore. But just seeing his rise and how they booked that, I thought that was really good. God, storylines. What have they done recently? It's trying to rack my brain now, to be honest with you. It's probably a bit controversial, but I quite enjoyed the end of the invasion storyline.
Really?
Yeah, it's just my favorite type of wrestling. So for me, it was such just watching it, I was like, this is so cool. I quite enjoy again Survivor Series. I quite enjoyed the 2004 Survivor Series storyline where they had the wrestlers in charge the week after. So watching the whole build up, the actual Survivor Series, and then the 4 weeks after. I think I've watched that from start to finish before because I just enjoyed the way they put that together. Yeah, Triple H and Shawn Michaels. That's another one.
Classic.
Yeah, it's a guy. I'm a classic kind of guy. I'm trying to think of stuff that's more recent, but I can't at the moment.
It's a bit of a shame sometimes the product, those memories of such old were just so hard hitting and, they haven't been done before. And then everything now is like, well, we could do that, but it's going to be linked back to something earlier and maybe sort of like a stigmatization. It's like, yeah, you're doing something great now, but you could always link it back to something in the past. It's a bit of that weird stigmatization with that. And you can never really elevate your storyline because it's always going to be prepared for something in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it is a case of, especially today, a lot of it's already been done. It's really hard to come up with something so new, and that's through no fault of the major companies. It's just the way it is. There's really so much because the content is there for everyone to watch as well. You can just go back and watch something, and then know they're kind of doing the same thing now. So that's kind of like a negative on having so much content available to watch like readily these days. But some things that if it's not broke, don't fix it as well. Like if the storyline worked prior, you're just changing the characters or changing the people involved. It can give a bit of a Renaissance feel, but at the same time be new because you have new people involved.
No, yeah, absolutely, mate. I completely agree with you there. Definitely. Going back to yourself as well, you mentioned how you were training 1 minute and then already jumped into a match in the next minute. Your first match, was there really a sense of fear or anticipation for going in for your first match?
My honest opinion was I was absolutely bricking it. The person I was wrestling was relatively new as well. He's a great guy, but he was relatively new, so we had like the most basic plan you can think of. But we didn't really know how to plan a match. Like if you're looking back then, it wasn't like I always say to people I train with now, I had a really, really bad start in terms of not really knowing what I was doing and having to like kind of work it out on the fly, as they say, you know, a wrestling term, on the fly, but having to work it out like month to month, being in matches, being like, how am I gonna, you know, take something from this while also being up to a certain standard? Because like I always wanted, even if I wasn't very good at it, I always wanted to get better with each match I was in.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. So yeah, it was quite scary, and the match was rubbish. I don't think it's online, so you can't. I don't think it's there to be watched. But you got to start somewhere new. Like you got to take positives from everything. Like a lot of my character and me is just me turned up to like 11. Again, like a cliche thing. But when I have to actually sit down and talk about it, I will talk in a sense of like I'll approach it as a person. Like you can't be brilliant every time. When I started, like I wasn't the brilliance, you know what I mean? That's something that came later on down the line. I was just James Ellis, and I was literally happy-go-lucky babyface. I think I wrestled in a vest in the first match, but like cut off. Like I was a bit afraid to get my body out, so I had like a cut off, like you know when the sleeves are cut off. It's not even like a string or anything. It was just a cut off like vest. It was baggy on me. The next two matches I did, I wrestled in a t-shirt, like a general top man t-shirt. I'm probably ripping apart everything I'm doing right now by saying this, but we've all got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I remember having a bit of advice from someone who was on the show, who did look like $1 million, to be fair to me, trained hard, you know. He is like a wrestler's wrestler. He like, you know, the whole point of him being a wrestler is he wants to look like someone from like the 90s or 80s. And he said, look, it don't matter what you look like. The fans don't want to come and watch someone who could be sitting next to them. AKA, if you're wearing a t-shirt like that they are, it doesn't like correlate the difference in being a wrestler and just being a fan. So that was probably one of the best. So from that point onwards, it kind of like, I didn't care about having my stomach out, or like that any insecurities like that. I just went out there and like it definitely helped me with my confidence in being louder in the ring as well. Because there was a case of my shoulders went down. I went, right, come on, let's do it. So yeah, that was definitely there was real positives that came from my first time, or the first place I trained at and wrestled. But I noticed coming towards the end of it, I was getting to a certain level, and it wasn't a good level, but I was getting to a certain level with the trainees that were there. And the people didn't seem to leave and like try and train elsewhere or go to seminars elsewhere. There was kind of like a little bit of we're just here, this is what we do. And I never wanted to be like that, because I was like, well, if I want to give this a go, then I need to go and get different ideas and see how other people train, and you know, just learn off different heads. So COVID hit, and then I left. It was kind of it sounds bad saying it now, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise for me, because I was like, right, I think this is time for a change now. So I went in. I was actually a champion by that point as well. I'd only been there about a year, and I just said, look, I'm going to go now. I'm going to start training elsewhere. I'm going to see where this takes me. And they were pretty sound with it. You know, I did a match. I lost, so I dropped the belt. I didn't hand it over to keep it in storyline. And that was me then. I left there and I joined a different training school, which was again a step up. And this was like just coming towards the end of the pandemic. So you know, as things opened up, training started. I became a regular training member there. Then shows started up again. And my whole idea was that if I want to get better, the only way to get better, as well as going to better training schools, was to get on as many shows and help out and just be a part of wrestling. So that's where the brilliance really, I think, kicked off, because I think I had my first match back in August last year. 21, yeah, it is 20. Yeah, August last year, and we've just tried to be in every possible show I can. I've tried to get on it. I've been to help out on many shows, and that's where it's where the real learning kicked off for me. Because I was getting opportunities. People were starting to notice, like, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like my character work inside the ring. So I'm very loud in general. I'm a chopsy person. Always have been, quite cheeky, quite cocky, but that's just me, you know. And like, people were starting to notice that. And like, as I was getting better training, the training was getting, I'm like, I still say I'm the brilliance, I'm good as gold, but I'm not even started yet. It's not even a finished product, because if you think you're a finished product in wrestling, then you need to get out, because that's not the attitude to have. Like, it's constantly developing. So I think it's only getting better and better. And like, I want to nail that point across, that I'm literally still just like new, and I'm just developing. So we could do another sit down interview in a year's time, and it could be different again. You know, like, I could tell you a lot more stories for you to talk about.
Yeah, no.
Like I said, sorry, I am rambling on you. I do apologize.
Continue. No, you definitely, what it's saying is, like, this is very much an evolutionary business. You know, you could be one person one year, and then the next year you could be a wholly different individual. You know, we had a wrestling trainer from the States, Bo Crockett, and he talked about how he trained people and divided them into groups. You know, the powerhouse type, the high flyer type, and the brawler type. Was there a particular style that you leaned towards and thought, like, this is me? And, you know, or maybe you tried to be like a high flyer and realized, oh, I like that style, but I couldn't be that because that's not me at the end of the day.
Now, this is a bit of a weird, like, answer for me to give, because I generally am as a stature around like 5'10" in my boots. I don't particularly fly around. I don't mind leaving the air at all. I don't mind doing. I tried the high flying stuff, done it in certain matches. It's a case of, like, if the occasion calls for it, then it will be there. But I'm more of, like, it's quite cliche again, like a grappling person. And I'd say I am more a hybrid of, like, grappling, high flying, and then I do hit big moves as well. It's just all molded into one for me, or I'm trying to mold it into one for me. Like, I take inspiration from, like, my favorite wrestlers. I can think of off the top of my head: Kurt Angle, Edge, Shawn Michaels, Steve Corino. That's a random shout. I know a lot of people are quite surprised by that. And if you watch a lot of my stuff, like, you can see where I've picked certain elements from Steve Corino. I think he's class. And Jeff Jarrett's another one, and Christian. So, like, you can see, like, the kind of wrestler I want to be, but again, you've got to create your own brand of what you want to take from this and what you want the fans to see from your matches. So I would never want to be a carbon copy, but there's nothing wrong, I find, with just taking little bits from everywhere and just seeing where the lay of the land is.
Yeah, of course, man. You know, you build your character and then let the lay of the land take you across what stories you need to go for. Very much so that the way the world is this day and age. And you mentioned, obviously, 2020, the big whole global pandemic, everything shut down. The UK went into whole lockdown, everything. Not much wrestling was going on. And you mentioned how you were taking time away for yourself to build yourself. What were the, like, 3 goals you had to do during the pandemic of training yourself?
Like I said, the pandemic was a blessing in disguise for, like, not just one reason of me leaving the first training school and, like, promotion I was working for. My goals were, like, when everything opened up again, like, for a start, I was like, I'm definitely going. This journey is not even started yet, so we need to. There's the new chapters here. So I was definitely I'm going to train as much as I can with different people. That was one goal. The second goal was to get myself into shape. So I wasn't in shape. I trained. I've always been in the gym since I started wrestling, but I never understood, like, it was more the diet and nutrition part of it. It's the classic. I just didn't understand how to eat properly and, like, how eating certain things would benefit my body and, like, my training. So it was definitely to get in shape. and it's a simple goal. I just wanted to wrestle in England. That was my first. That was. They were the three things, if I can think off the top of my head, that I wanted to do. Was I wanted to wrestle in a different country than Wales, even though it is my homeland and I love it here. But I wanted to wrestle somewhere else. I just wanted to like by that. I then thought the building blocks will start. They'll be the building blocks to where I want to go next with it.
Mm-hmm. No, it was a good building blocks. I'm a bit personal hurt. You didn't mention Scotland, the great country up here north. Come on.
Hey, let me tell you, James Ellis in 2020 wasn't thinking for 1 second I'd get the opportunity to wrestle in Scotland. Now, if it happened or if the opportunity was there, then yes, definitely. Like 2023, I'm starting to go by year to year goals. And 2023, I'm not just saying this because you said that now. I'd like to wrestle in Scotland, but I'd also like to wrestle in Ireland as well. Like they're the two next steps for me. And like if the opportunity to wrestle in Europe came, like Spain or France, I'd love to do that. Because I just think it's like you see a lot of these wrestlers and they've got like 20 different country flags, and I've only got Wales and England. So I think that is the next step. I don't think I'll be one of those. I don't think I'll be a person who puts the flags up where they wrestle, but you never know. I might change my mind again, and then I'm like, nah, it's quite cool actually.
Well, who knows? Yeah. You might go to the extreme and get it tattooed on your body, every country's flag. That'd be a hell of an extreme thing to do.
That is one thing well, touch wood anyways, unless it's forced upon me, which I hope it doesn't. I never get a tattoo. I've not one part of my body. I haven't got one tattoo on my body. It's a personal decision. I just never actually entertained the thought of it, to be honest with you. And I've been on plenty of lads' holidays. I've been to Magaluf. I've been to I've been to Benidorm. I've been to Mallorca. I never once, even drunk, got into the tattoo parlor.
Oh Jesus, man! They're like the country you come back with more stories across your body than in your head.
Yes, spot on. And a lot of my friends did enjoy a tattoo out there. Yeah, it was a good time. I feel a lot older talking about that now. I feel like an old man.
Well,
I'm only 25.
We're showing our fucking ages. Oh God,
yeah.
You mentioned about dining as well. We've had Welsh wrestler Kid Cymru on from Welsh Wrestling, and he talked about the yeah, he's a great lad. And what were some of the things you incorporated into your diet? Was it specific types of food, quantities, or calories, or stuff like that? What was the most important things for you?
For me, it was purely just counting your calories. I didn't really change exactly. I ate a lot more meat. Like it sounds again quite cliche. I've mentioned that about 10 times on this podcast, but I ate a lot more meat, and I cut down the amount of food I was eating. It was the amount to strip down. I needed to, like, I dropped from, say I was eating 3,500 calories a day for a person who's 5'10", or 5'9", 5'10" in my boots. It was it just weren't healthy for the amount, because I wasn't training enough to burn off what I was eating to lose weight. So I just basically stripped it right down. I went from like 3.5 to like 2,300 a day for a period of around, I'd say 6 months probably. And I was quite strict with it because the pandemic was still a thing. And I had a job that I had a job, but I worked from home. I rely on what I was doing, but it still afforded me to go to McDonald's. I still drank beer. But it was quite a lot of time. Like you'd have the off day, one or two off days over like a 2-week period where you could let go and enjoy yourself. And I was training all the time. I mean, I was going for runs. I was training in the house. I did a lot of HIIT training basically, and that was incorporating with the weight just dropped off. I went from about 14.5 stone, which I know is pretty mental for someone quite short, to I think my first match back, I was 12.5.
Fucking hell, man.
So I'd stripped right down. And by doing that, you could see when the gyms opened up then, you could see everything I'd been doing. It was always there. It was just because I lost the weight, it was now being shown.
Yeah.
So I came back and people were like, what happened here? And I was like, just started training more and eating less. Like that's the only advice I'll give. I'm not a PT. I haven't got a qualification to tell you, so I wouldn't try and enforce anyone to follow any diet that I did or regime I did, but I just eat less, train more.
Hey, if it worked for you, mate, it must have worked. It must have done the right things at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I'm liking. I just noticed as well, I'm liking your tash. Is that Movember or is that General Style?
That's a general sign, my friend. You know, if I keep this off and I try to get ID for alcohol, it's the deterrent for that. I want to get my drink and get out. I don't want to stand there for
Yeah,
30 minutes waiting for someone IDing me. Not my kind of
that's
style.
quality. Yeah, that's quality. I
You
like
can,
I like the underneath as well. It's quite Jack Sparrowy.
oh well, Halloween's gone and dusted, but who knows? Maybe next year I'll give that a shot. The last year to go as Amber Heard, and it will be a good iconic pair.
uh,
Well, hey, we mentioned Kid Cymru, and that sparked your interest. But I know you've wrestled for Welsh Wrestling, who is Kid Cymru's home promotion.
yeah, I have. I've actually teamed with Kid Cymru.
Hey,
I wasn't the brilliance that day. I was just James Ellis, I think. I can't remember what my name was actually. When you work generally as when you work on at Welsh, you don't work under the name you usually work under. You work under something else, depending on the crowd and everything. Sometimes I've worked under my name before as well. So it's to say, it's a cool little quirk when you go there. It's a different experience. Welsh wrestling, I'll be honest with you, is one of the best in Wales. It's an entity all on its own. In terms of the crowds they pull and the amount they run. And I've enjoyed my time when I've wrestled. I wrestled there a couple of weeks ago, actually. It was in Bala in North Wales, so it's about 4 hours from where I live. It was a long day, that was. But a good experience. It was a good experience.
yeah,
I enjoyed that. Yeah,
I've always seen from the Welsh Wrestling Instagram that the crowds are always fun. It's always a nice environment. Everyone's having a good laugh. You know, even at these they go to resorts and everything, and other great places. You know, what's that kind of atmosphere like? Different from maybe a hardcore wrestling crowd? Is it very different?
Yeah, it's a completely different environment. But it's also a really, really, really good place to learn how to work crowds, because they are there. A lot of the time they're there because as you said, if it's on resorts, it's just an entertainment for an hour. So they'll just go and watch it because they may not be wrestling fans. Some of them may be, but a lot of them may not be. So you've got to learn to get them involved, and that can really help with your confidence. And you take it onto shows that you're on, where it's either a more hardcore wrestling crowd, or again, it's a family crowd, but they just come in to watch because it's something to do on a Saturday night or a Sunday night. And it just helps you educate them when you're in the ring. And like I said, it really, really, really does help with your confidence, because you have to work them. You have to get them involved in what you're doing. So that otherwise you'll stand out like a sore thumb. Kid Cymru is a great example of that. He's always on the crowd, great crowd worker, and always gets them involved. And they're always having a good time when he's wrestling. So it's a prime example of how to work in a different kind of show.
Yeah, very much so. You know, it's not something that every wrestler's got experience with, working with these family-friendly audiences at resorts. So it must be a good tool to have in your arsenal as well.
It's always a great opportunity to get the chance to work there. If you're not a regular there, it's a nice change. And I've been, like I said, I've been fortunate enough to wrestle a few times for them, and hopefully a few more in the future as well. But I'll just wrestle anywhere at the moment, to be honest with you. Well, nearly anywhere. There are certain promotions where you're like, no, I don't think that's going to serve me in any purpose or help me develop. So, but yeah, I've wrestled. I think I've debuted this year for about 8 or 9 promotions, and my goal at the start of this year, as I was telling you about Scotland and Ireland, my goal at the start of this year was to wrestle 10 matches, and I think I did that by about March. So I've just been riding a roller coaster this year and just enjoyed it, because this was just a chance to develop this year, and it's just blown any sort of any goals I had, just blew them out the water, and I've just absolutely loved it.
Really your expectations there, man. You've honestly done well for yourself at the end of the day. You know, these years nearly over, but there's plenty left to go around.
Yeah, I've got a couple more for the rest of the year, and I'm just going to enjoy them. And then we've set our sights. We've got a couple. What's nice is I've actually got a couple in for 2023 already, which to me blows my mind. You know what I mean? So yeah,
you're starting the year off hot. You're starting the year off hot. That's what we like to see. You know, just going straight in there.
We'll try to, anyways.
Okay, don't worry. But something I want to touch upon as well. You've actually wrestled a guest or on the show before. You've wrestled former NXT wrestler Wild Boar, if I'm correct, as well.
I have, yes. He is legitimately one of the best in not only Wales but the UK. An incredible mind. He's a trainer at the school I'm at now as well. He's one of the head coaches there. So I get to learn off him most weeks. And then I got the chance to wrestle him. And it's probably, I think, my favorite match I've had. I'm not too sure. It's hard. I had one recently as well with well, I had two recently with Harrison Bennett and Shane Hooker at different promotions, and they've also been two of my favorites. So like my last like 2 months,
Mhm.
I've been laden. I've wrestled Bo twice. I wrestled him one-on-one at New Wave at their debut show, and then I wrestled him at Slam Masters in a four-way match with Danny Duggan and Elijah. Two massive matches where I got the chance to learn a hell of a lot, and I did.
Mhm.
But yeah, he is legitimately one of the best in the UK. Unreal mind.
Yeah, he's definitely got a great craft for this business, understands the psychology as well, and also that physical element as well, because he's an absolute unit of a man. It's like, Jesus Christ, he would destroy anybody in his way. But and what we had, well, he's a great man. He's a great man. But when we had Wildborn on, he talked about the importance he felt as someone from Wales and having WWE bring over Clash at the Castle. For yourself, James, as well, was that really a pride sense for you, not only as a wrestler, but someone from Wales as well?
It was huge. As a Welshman, and being a very like I'm a case of I am Welsh. Like that is me. You know what I mean? So I love my country. And I was bursting with pride when it was announced it was going to be in the Millennium. And we had Drew McIntyre as our UK homeboy, even though it was it was a bit thing that was no Welsh wrestlers on the show, but I mean, you can't have everything, can you? So yeah, it was great though. I went to the show. I loved it. It was probably one of my favorite nights of the year. It was great because it was just loads of, also being in the wrestling business now, it was loads of wrestlers there.
Yeah,
so you just like met up with people you've either met before on like one show you've never met before, but you had them on social media, so you kind of actually met them for the first time in person. It was great. Some would say brilliant.
Honestly, I was there as well. I mean, I travelled down all the way from Scotland to Cardiff. I mean, too many trains, and God, it was a tough day, long day. A lot of whiskey was drunk that day, and especially at the night as well. But that whole arena, the atmosphere, and even just hearing the crowd chants as well. That UK crowd is honestly, I think the UK crowd is probably one of the best crowds you can get, even in wrestling, football, whatever. They are passionate and driven, and the crowd chants at Roman Reigns truly brought a smile to my face.
Yeah. I thought I go on.
Continue. No, you continue, James.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think the UK culture of sport in general, like that's what really puts it over as one of the best crowds in the world. Like you hear like, you know, like Canada, Toronto, Chicago, really good wrestling crowds. But when you get a show in the UK, like even when it's like just a SmackDown or Raw, because obviously we only had two in the last 30 years, but like you just hear the difference in the crowd because it's entwined in us. I feel like with like I'm a big football fan as well, play football. So I'm a really big Swansea supporter. So like I'm used to going to these these matches and like you're in the crowd. So seeing that transfer over to wrestling crowds is great, and it just shows that I think personally the UK is has the best crowd or best fans in the world.
Very much so, I agree with you there. Now, something I've always asked every wrestler who's came on from the UK, from Wild Boar to up in Scotland with Ashley Vega, if WWE bring over WrestleMania for the UK, where should it be held, James? Do tell me.
I mean, it sounds bad, we've just been on about it, but I'm obviously going to go for the Millennium Stadium. Like it's an 80,000 seater. It's got great connections in terms of transport. So if you want to get to somewhere, it's quite easy to get to. But like barring that, sadly it's not big enough. But I would have gone to Liberty Stadium because it's not even called that anymore. It's called the Swansea.com Stadium. But yeah, it's not big enough, sadly. Yeah, because I go Wales. I go Wales again because I think we put our stuff. We shown what a show like that can be. So an opportunity would be great to have a WrestleMania over here. I don't think it'll happen, but maybe a SummerSlam next time. You know, something big. One of the big four.
Yeah, that's it. Well, if your viewers have been keeping up with the show, that's 3 points for Wales, 1 for London, still 0 for Scotland. For fuck's sake, come on, guys. But I mean, hey, we'll get there eventually. We'll get on the board. You know, it's just like the Scottish Premier League.
Have you had a Scottish person on before? Yeah.
I have, yeah. I've had it.
And they didn't pick Scotland. They didn't pick Murrayfield
I was heartbroken. I mean, I was going to just lie on the floor and drink some whiskey and cry, but I mean, got to power through and
Oh,
get the job done.
that's heartbreaking. Oh, maybe some person will. An honorary second, Murrayfield. How
Hey.
about that? There we are. I'll
Go
knock down
for
the
it.
Liberty Stadium.
I'll take it. Right, we got a half point on the board right there. We'll put that right there.
See, I'm not just a bad guy. I can be nice.
Yeah, that's what we like to see. Now, I want to touch upon one more thing with Wild Boar as well, being a former NXT UK superstar, and NXT UK shut down this year as well.
Yeah.
For you teams as well, thoughts on NXT UK shutting down? Do you think it's just a shame that particular show being shut down, and hopefully we can get more stuff for UK wrestlers to appear on the network? But just your thoughts on NXT UK.
It was a big shock, to be honest with you. When I heard it, I was in Tenerife at the time. Actually, that's what reminded me. I was in Tenerife. And I was just a bit like, I think, not for me, because I'm just like new, but I think a lot of wrestlers, it kind of took a sting out of like, they'd be building like the independent scene. I don't know about their goals, but like, I know certainly what my goal would have been if I'd been, say, 3 or 4 more years into wrestling. I've been looking at, I want to get there. Like, that's the next step for me. And I just feel so bad for the talent that were a part of it as well. So yeah, it was shocking, to be honest. When they had a deal with BT Sport as well, I was quite surprised. To me, that is a big deal. I understand that maybe viewers and stuff play a factor into decisions, but I just think they had legs as well. And if they started running a bit more with like big shows, aka I went to the Cardiff show I think it was the Motor Point. It was a class show. I really, really enjoyed that. It would have been great to see a little bit more of that post pandemic, and maybe that would have like G'd up crowds a bit more as well, and viewership, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So it was shocking, but I didn't think it would close. I know they're doing NXT Europe, and who knows? Like hopefully a lot of the talent who were on that show will get signed again.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to, because they were there for a reason, anyways. They were the top of the top. But there's a lot of like on the independent scene now, like a lot of people came up because of those spots missing. So, they should be in with a shout as well. Like that's the way I look at it, anyways.
It's always a good positive way to look at it. At the end of the day, if people are working and getting paid, then that's the great thing for the wrestling business. No matter when, where, or where, as long as wrestlers are getting paid and exposed to bigger companies, then that's what I like to see at the end of the day.
100%.
Now, I want to talk about, James, about you being a champion for No Mercy Wrestling as the Combat Legacy champion. Winning that title, what did that mean for you?
The first as well. That's a big factor for me. What it means so much is it's the first. I was the first champion for that company. It's a new company, and I appeared on nearly every show. And it was nice that the trust was put in me to carry that belt as the first ever champion. And the person I beat for it is one of the best in the UK as well. Danny Jones, made of stone. El Campeon, you'll get that. That's a little thing we say. It was just a very big honor to and to then defend it not only at No Mercy, but at, I took it over to another company called Pro Wrestling Carnage. I defended it there, and if more opportunities come, I'll defend it anywhere and just help that brand out, because they've helped me out by giving me opportunities to be on their shows. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's an honor, because I do feel a little bit of pride in that belt. I'm the champ, so I need to act in a certain manner and show people why I am the brilliant. I'm always good as gold, literally good as gold, because I have gold around my waist now. So yeah, it did mean a lot to me. It's the first championship I won post pandemic, or post restart, should we say? And the real first belt I won as the brilliance, and where I feel more confident in myself as a wrestler, and it gives me a chance, because by being champion, a lot of the time I'm wrestling talent that are more experienced than me, so I'm learning as I'm going along as well. So that's another reason why it's like the opportunities are there. It's a benefit to both. If you get what I mean?
Yeah, I have to.
So yeah, it's a lot of pride in the fact that I was given the opportunity to fight for it and then win it, and carry the Combat Legacy championship around with me is quite cool, to be honest with you, having a belt.
That's very much so. It's always like a nice wee thing to have as well. Is it always like that sort of winning feeling like you're going out to a show and it's like, shit, I've got the belt. Is it on me? Is it in my suitcase?
I've had that one so far, yeah, where I actually generally had to stop the car and check it was there.
I can imagine the panic on your face.
Yeah, not good.
Never is. You mentioned about being a traveling champion. We had the Rev Pro female champion, Alex Windsor, on. She talked about taking the belt over to Japan and wanting to defend it there and represent the company. Is Japan something on your plate as well, James, in the future?
I'll say right now, James Ellis will wrestle. Well, I want to wrestle anywhere that's abroad, and I'm definitely one of those people. I'll give it a go. I'd love to wrestle in Japan. I think I'd just love to see the culture up there and see the difference in wrestling, as well as like it's a place I've never been to before. Yeah, I mentioned Japan. Canada is definitely one as well. Obviously America, that would be cool. And Germany actually as well. I'd like to wrestle in Germany. That'd be different. I see a lot of people wrestling in Dubai as well at the moment. I wouldn't mind wrestling out in Dubai because I'd love to go to Dubai.
Yeah, definitely. We actually had Alex Windsor who did the first female main event in Dubai as well. So hey, it's looking like a great opportunity for people.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, the goal is to like just build year on year in terms of like just getting better and getting more chances to wrestle in different places, and that's not just different promotions, that's different countries. These are goals I'm setting myself, and hopefully I'm talking them into existence down the line. It's definitely Japan would be cool. I think it'd just be cool to wrestle there because like I've watched a lot of Japanese wrestling, and although it looks hard hitting, it does look like a very, very class experience.
Oh, very much so. That hard Japanese style. Is there anyone in Japan that you ideally want to face? You want to get in there with the ring with?
We're talking, we're manifesting now. I just think Okada's class. I think he's just a different level. Probably a boring answer. I'm just, but like because he is like the man over there. But like Okada for me would be the one person I'd love to wrestle. Like that's speaking something that's probably not going to happen into existence. But we never know. You never know. Never say never.
That is very much this business. Never say never. Well, someone who is in Japan who's from the UK as well. There's the Billy Goat Will Ospreay. Maybe someone on your radar as well.
100%. I didn't know when you said the question if you wanted a Japanese wrestler or someone who just wrestled over there. Will Ospreay is different. In other words, I'd say different gravy. He's class. I wouldn't mind wrestling him as well. It's probably a controversial say I wouldn't mind wrestling Carl Anderson as well, as he's the never open. That was actually mentioned on the latest pay-per-view, which I was really surprised. Yeah, that they mentioned he was a champion over there. I thought that was like wrestling this year has been bonkers for that sort of thing, like the crossovers and especially with WWE. Like I can probably see it with AEW prior to them doing Forbidden Door, but like WWE mentioning that, I thought that was just we are living in a different time now.
Yeah, very much. This year has been absolutely like 100 miles per hour. You're resting 1 minute, you look at the Reddit or whatever, and there's like another one. Jesus Christ, here we go, another story. Was there any particular stories this year that maybe caught your eye? Like that's happening, that happened. What the fuck?
That's a tough one. I don't really watch much regular wrestling anymore. As in, like, I don't watch like for storyline purpose. But again, I'm going with the most obvious one. I'm really enjoying. I forgot to mention it. I'm really enjoying the Sami Zayn. I really enjoy Roman Reigns as champ. I think Roman Reigns is unreal. I think he is generally the man. Like he's class. I just think from the promos, the way he carries himself, the whole bloodline, like all of the bloodline, and that's including Paul Heyman. Just they carry shows, but at the same time, you're like, what's going to happen now? Like, who's going to take the belt off him? I think the story with sorry to subpar as well. The story with Sheamus, I think it really is leading to like another pop at like a heavyweight championship, hopefully, like with the banger after banger after banger, and also again, not a massive fan of factions. I've just mentioned two. I really enjoy the Brawling Brutes. I think they're quality. So like they're two like sets of people who I think really stand out for me. In the last year, I did quite like. I know it's probably a bit too much last, like 2021 as well, but I really enjoyed Cameron Grimes. This is out of left field. Cameron Grimes
Oh,
is rise up from like heel to face, and
yeah,
then like kind of back to heel. Like I know he's changed again now, but I love the to the moon. I thought that was gold.
yeah.
I thought it was gold.
That whole $1 million championship storyline as well was very entertaining. Him and LA Knight and everyone. That was great.
Yeah,
That was
LA
true.
Knight. I'm so glad he's back to LA Knight as well. That was badly needed.
Yeah, that was a very great change from the I believe it was the Maximum Models or something like that. That was a
The Max Dupree.
that's the one. Oh god, well hey, we got
Yeah,
it back, so things are turning great now.
yeah,
Now I want to talk something about James seeing yourself. So basically, you know how fans are like they record you or take pictures of you, but then there's like those professional photographers, and I believe one that's done great stuff for you, especially is Blue Radical. You know, I want
yeah.
to talk about like when you first seen like professional images of yourself. Was it like a stunned realization, like wow, this is me?
That was when I remember doing my first show or my second show post pandemic, and we had Blue Radical on, and I'd seen his stuff prior. Never met the guy. He's now a very good friend of mine, to be honest with you, as well, outside of wrestling. And I remember like the person who was promoted, it was again Pro Wrestling Carnage. I kind of count them as like one of the stable promotions I work for. I've done every show for them, so that kind of gives you an idea of like the relationship are there. Like they give me the opportunities, so I really appreciate that. So I will put over the fact that they like helped me by giving me these opportunities as well. But they had a professional photographer on it, and one of the people who is the promoter, he was on. I've known him since I started, so he launched his own promotion post pandemic. And he was like, we're going to do a lot of things differently. And one of the things, the two main things I stood out to me was he had a photographer and a videographer. And I was shocked because I'd seen the stuff of both. It was BA Productions and as the videographer and Blue Radical as the photographer. I remember getting promos done. And I'd had promos done previously, but they were crap, to be honest with you. They were shit. I probably didn't help the fact that I was not in any good nick either. So like, it just didn't look very good. My gear wasn't nice either, and it just, it didn't even take my wrists, and all of these little things like that. The thing I do, that came from the match I had at Pro Wrestling Carnage the first time, and it was just a bit of a joke to pop one of the boys that was in the back because he was doing the Steve Carino high spot. Okay. And I just did that, and I don't know why I did it. I just did it as I came out, and that stuck. That's the one thing I've never actually talked about on any podcast. I think that's where it came from. It just stuck, and now it's synonymous with what I put up. And yeah, so I had these promo photos done. I remember seeing the quality come back. I think I was in London the day after these promo photos came back, my first set. And I was like, this is amazing. I was like, the quality. I remember, I think I put it up. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and I put it on my Instagram straight away. I don't know if it's still there, but I put it up straight away, and I was like, I just put out brilliance. And that was like really where it kind of started to like, I honed in on my Instagram. I honed in on trying to like stay sort of in character with what I post. Some things I don't. Some things are just like, that was cool. I wrestled Boar. I was like, that was awesome. Like, that was just one of my favorite matches because that was a massive learning experience and a massive opportunity. So you do get the humble brilliance, we say. That's what I kind of tend to say. But yeah, so and then the match photos came out, and I was just like, this is now, we're in a different stratosphere. Like, just from one show post pandemic to seeing that out from what was like previously, I was like, this is amazing. I was like, now we're really, let's see what we can go with this. You know what I mean? And it sounds so silly, but like something as like aesthetic as a good photograph really like showed me that I was like, oh, I look good. Like, and then I saw the video back. The match was okay, I guess, probably rubbish in comparison. But to me at the time, it was my best match. And like you say, take something from everything you do, every match I have. I took a lot of good things from that and a lot of things I needed to work on. So yeah, it was like, I know I danced around it, but yeah, seeing Blue Radical, and like every time I'll always get promos done with him. And And the current one I have, the one I sent over to you, was Blue Radical, as you know,
Yeah.
and that was only a couple of weeks ago. And you just kind of see an evolution as well with like the way I've looked and like certain things have changed. The stash won't be staying, but it's for Movember. It's for a good cause. The beard will be back. So yeah, like when I first started, I think I had a little bit of a beard. Now I've had ones where it was overgrown. I had ones where it was like neatly like I'd had like the razor done when I had my hair cut, so like it was tight. Yeah, it's a lot of different looks that he's had over the last year and a half, do we say? So yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's a really nice person and top photographer. Blue Radical is.
Nah, he's a true talent. I would suggest everyone watching just now give him a wee little look on the Instagram as well. His images are top notch shit, so definitely give him a check out. Now, you mentioned obviously wrestling with facial hair and everything. We had former AW star Alan Angels on, and he talked about wrestling with a mask. I just want to know with wrestling with facial hair, is that any annoyance, or is it you just kind of get used to it?
No, I've never I never really had any problems with it. I've wrestled in a mask once. That was hard. I'll be honest with you, that was really hard. That credit to people who wrestle in masks because it was difficult. I wouldn't hurry back to wrestling in a mask.
No.
I enjoy the people seeing my face more as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it also obscure your view as well if something tilts to the left or tilts down.
Yeah. Definitely. There's a lot of room for error with masks. So yeah, no, the beard for me though doesn't make any sort of difference to my wrestling ability. Yeah.
Oh, good. Here. Now, something recently as well. Someone's actually called you out for a match on Instagram as well. Levi Cooper, I believe. He's called you out for a wee little match. I just want to know about that, about you and Levi. Is that something that's happened before? Is it something like, some random just called me out?
No, it's I actually wrestled one of his tag partners, Shane Hooker, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. But I've also been on Evo shows. Evolution was one of the first English companies to give me a chance. So a great company. I really enjoy working for them. And I've been on nearly every show with Levi. I've never had the opportunity to wrestle him. So hence why, again, you had kind of humble brilliance because I was I'd gladly wrestle him, especially as he's a champion down there as well. So I'd like him if he put that middleweight strap on the line as well. So yeah, I'd like some more gold.
Wow, Levi, come on, get the gold on the throne, Bella.
Let's go. Oh, yeah, well, at the same time, if he wants to come down to Wales, then we can fight for the Combat Legacy Championship, or we can go and do a double at Evo, and then we could do the Combat Legacy and the middleweight titles on the line. Because I might be a bit of a prick, but at the same time, I'm a fighting champion. And I will do anything, and I mean anything, to win and retain my belt.
That's what we like to see. We love to see a fighting champion stay true to their words and fight until they're black and blue in the ring, my friend. Now, I want to quickly talk about dream matches and everything about the dreams. James, if you were given one opponent of your choosing from any time period in history to have one match with, who would you pick and why?
Eddie Guerrero.
Oh.
And why? Because he is just another level. He's one of the best that's ever laced a pair of boots. And I just like to, again, it's more of like a test. Imagine just being in that situation and having to wrestle and just being given like 20 minutes and just go up there and have a match, boys, and just being able to like learn off someone like that and just watch and be in the ring and just be in the moment. Eddie Guerrero. If it weren't Eddie Guerrero, it would be Kurt Angle, because again, testing yourself, wrestling machine. Kurt Angle, 2003. You know what I mean?
That was a hell of a time period.
Yeah. You can see that. You can see where my favorites were. Like, it's pretty clear who my favorite era was. So yeah, it's not difficult. So yeah, them two. Yeah, if we start adding more on, we'll be here till Tuesday next week.
Better might crack out the good old whiskey and then get through that.
Yeah, I'll be getting a drink as well, to be honest with you. I've had enough coffee for the day.
Oh, yeah.
So
get the good old shit on.
Yeah.
And James, I want to talk about something else as well. We love to have these wrestlers do well and then eventually get signed to big promotions. So say next year you have Triple H, Tony Khan, and Billy Corgan of the NWA, and as well as the owner of Impact as well. They come to you. You say, hey, James, we've got 4 promotions here for you. You can pick one promotion to sign with: WWE, AEW, NWA, or Impact? Who are you picking?
I think all options are good options there. But for me, you got to stick with what brought you to the dance. So WWE every day.
Definitely good choice as well.
I like pro wrestling. I like sports entertainment,
Mhm.
just as much. So yeah, the entertainment side for me is a big thing as well. I want to be a good pro wrestler, but I want to be able to entertain the fans. So like having the chance to work there and see how they operate would be, it's a dream. It is the dream. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that.
Nah, definitely, that's a dream, mate. It is a dream. Now, let's say down the line you become the WWE champion, but Triple H comes to you and says, "Hey, like the design of the current belt, but there's multiple belt designs. You could pick any old belt design from WWE's past to be representing you as the champion. Who are you picking? Which title?"
Can I ask you? Can I ask you to have a guess before I answer? Which one do you think I'd pick?
I am thinking you're gonna pick the amazing belt that is the spinner belt. Come on.
No,
Oh,
no.
no love for the
I
spinner
I was
belt.
I was gonna go with I go with the Brock Lesnar.
The
The,
undisputed
yeah,
WWE.
the undisputed championship.
Truly, truly a great belt design as well. Sad that only lasted around 2 years as well
I
before.
know. Why? It's such a beautiful belt. It's unreal.
It's,
Um,
it's, it's definitely one of the best ones that they've done. I
yeah.
think even better than the Winged Eagle as well. That a lot of people love to love.
I quite like the one. I quite like the one before that as well. The one they did that Jericho unified. God,
Uh,
I haven't mentioned Chris Jericho. He's like one of my favorite wrestlers as well. Like I meant to be watching him on Thursday with Fozzy. They're down in my
oh yeah,
area. So yeah, so I think I'm gonna go and watch him.
nice
He is
man.
generally I've got his book and everything. I don't know why I've mentioned Jericho at all. He's like literally one of my. He probably is my favorite wrestler. There's so many to pick from, mate.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, everyone has their
that is
different
not.
tastes. From past in the 80s to the 90s, to the thousands, and even right now as well. There's so many different eras that everyone can have a true joy and love for. But Jericho is
Yeah,
definitely one of my top 10 as well. I saw Fozzy last year up when he came to Glasgow, and it was a true experience. So
was it
being for
good?
oh hell yeah, it was good, very good as well. I mean, there was a guy dressed in a Liv Morgan jacket who had a bit too much to drink and had to get carried out. But besides
Oh,
that, stellar night, mate. You'll be in for a good time with Fozzy. Trust
good.
me.
Oh,
Doing
glad.
well, David, we're coming to the end of our time here, and I very much appreciate you coming on the show as well. But to our viewers who can see you in person, what's next lined up for you this year as well in 2023 so they can see you?
So for anyone in Wales, over the next 2 months, I'm wrestling in a company called Valley Championship Wrestling on the 20th of November. It's a show called Trogmania. It's at the Trinidad Sports Centre, I believe.
Hmm.
And yeah, that'll be a nice little show. I'm wrestling for New Wave, the place I train at. They've started promoting shows now. As I previously said, I wrestled 4 in the last one, which was cool. I'm in a tag team match against a team called Bolorama, which are class. So I'm really looking forward to that. And that will be, I can't remember the venue. I'm really sorry. But that's on the 25th of November. I know it's in Cardiff though. And then I'm actually going to England then on the 2nd of December. I've got a show in the Black Country for Black Country Championship Wrestling. And that'll be at Allen Sports Bar. I know that because they run the same venue every time. And it's a really, really cool venue. I really enjoyed making my debut there last month. That was an awesome experience. That's on the 2nd of December, as I previously just mentioned, I think. And yeah, I think I've got one on the 18th of December for No Mercy at the Penrhycaiba Hall in Wales. And that was on, the 18th of December. So yeah, that's where you can see me this year. And I've got a few shows coming up. I don't think I can announce them just yet because I haven't been announced for the shows yet. So yeah, 2023, just put it this way. Hopefully it'll be an even better year. I'm praying anyways because I love this year, but I want to get better every year.
Oh, don't worry, Dave. I'm sure 2023 is going to be the year of the brilliant, so don't you worry, my friend.
Let's hope so. I like
Well,
I like that attitude. I like that saying.
well, definitely get that in the Instagram handle. Get that there
Yeah,
instead of the flags. Do that, my friend.
that's a t-shirt waiting to happen. That is
Oh, well, okay, cut me in for 5% of the profit. I would very much appreciate it.
100%, mate.
Good man. Well, hey, viewers, I very much appreciate you all for tuning in for the latest episode of the Soul Sessions. Just remember, if you need any wrestling needs, tune in for Wrestling Republic. As well, follow us on the YouTube channel and at the Soul Sessions @official on Instagram as well. I've been your host, He's been James. Thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in. Peace.
Thank